yourself if you're not talking. Just a little reminder.
Good reminder.
All right, we are live. I'm going to post this now in our Discord. We are good to go. I'm just typing out to our community. I want to welcome the xetacapital community to an AMA today with MetaVersus World. I know the MetaVersus World is probably joining as well, the community that is. And we are xetacapital. We are bridging traditional finance and decentralized finance. I'll get more into that towards the end. Feel free to check out xetacapital.com to learn more while we're chatting away here. And then we'll just answer your questions toward the end. But then we're really looking at what is MetaVersus World, why I believe, even though I'm not a big metaverse person, that I believe this is one of the best metaverses I've personally ever seen, why I think this is game changing, and why I think this is something to potentially really keep your eye on, especially since xetacapital and MetaVersus are partner projects. We have Murray and Roxana. Hello, welcome guys. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Matt. How you doing? Good to be here. Thanks for inviting us on.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for joining. I know you're in different time zones. We're all three of us in very different time zones. So thanks for joining us. How about you guys tell us a little bit about who you are, how you got involved with MetaVersus World, and then we're going to, after that, go right into what MetaVersus World is.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, so my name is Murray. I am the CEO of MetaVersus. It's landing in a metaverse wasn't something I necessarily anticipated. Obviously, the term metaverse is relatively new as our virtual world's going kind of mainstream. I've myself been in software development for about 20 years and the technology world. I've worked for startups and corporate companies helping build mobile and digital applications and experiences, starting back at I guess what you'd call the app gold rush back in kind of 2006 to 2010, when there were so many different platforms like Microsoft and BlackBerry, as well as, obviously iOS and Android. So helping companies tool up to build these experiences, and then that kind of transformed into digital transformation as teams started to enable themselves inside of organizations. And then most recently, before I joined MetaVersus, I was the head of growth for Huawei here in Canada. I'm based in Toronto, Canada. So I was helping Huawei grow their app store here in Canada. Been personally involved in crypto and crypto projects since, trying to think back now, probably about 2015. If I'd have followed the advice I was given and bought 100 Bitcoin back then, I probably wouldn't be sitting here on this AMA chat. But you live and you learn. I've been through a couple of bull cycles and bear cycles, obviously. But now, my experience and my personal interests have kind of merged together. Found myself with the opportunity to join MetaVersus and this fantastic product that we've built and bring it to the world. So it's a very exciting time here, and we're so excited to get this to the point of alpha release where we're at. So Rox, do you want to say hi?
Yeah, I'll say a few words. Hi everyone. I'm Roxana. People know me in the space as the hat, because I always wear a black hat. It's kind of like my personal brand. Very, very happy to be here. I joined the space in 2013. Initially, I was into just Bitcoin and privacy and open source. And then around 2016, I got into the whole altcoin space, so to speak. So I've tried different things. I've built products with public ledgers. I've built products on Solana, Ethereum, advised and built strategy for layer ones. And probably my biggest skill set is being just a technology strategist and a go-to-market with a go-to-market focus. And last year, I built a very nice incubator that was community focused with a cool NFT as access called Launchpool Labs. And then earlier this year, I took over as interim CMO for MetaVersus World. which is a very good project, and we kind of, the whole team at Launchpool fell in love with it. So this is where we are right now.
So you guys have really a diverse background. I'm hearing incubation, business, technology. We love the folks at Launchpool, by the way. So if anybody from Launchpool is tuning in, hello. And boy, you guys I know, and this is just two people from the team. I mean, you guys have a very skilled team of architects and developers, and there's nobody, it doesn't seem like you're really lacking anything. I mean, maybe I'm missing something. I'm sure there's always something you're lacking, but you have such a well-talented, well-oiled machine, it seems like. So I think that's one of the reasons why you guys have a product that even in closed alpha looks better than anything that's been out there, I think, for years personally.
Yeah, we have. I mean, the team size fluctuates depending on the month and the demands of what we're building. But typically, we're around 20 to 30 full-time employees, and we're dispersed around the globe. True to the nature of Metaverse, we have our CTO in Japan. We've got developers in the Philippines and in Vietnam, teams in Spain, in Germany, UK, and obviously myself here in Canada. So we are very well spread. But it also means we're always on. We're in all these different time zones. So there's always activity going on. There's always people responding. We're always managing stuff. We're always building. It's particularly difficult for me as CEO though, because I wake up. Everybody's ahead of me in time. So I wake up to 10,000 messages every morning, but it certainly gets me out of bed in good time.
Well, the great thing about what you just said is having people in different time zones. The project is moving forward 24 hours a day. There's really no pause time. And I think that says something to have development and business and just all of sort of the operations always doing something, it seems like. Very, very wise. Our community has heard of metaverses. We've discussed metaverses. They know that we are XETA Capital is one of the investors in metaverses. And I've been talking you guys up. We had, a private call, and I was sharing in our Discord. I was saying, man, you guys wait until you guys see this metaverse. You guys are it's going to blow you away. So ever since then, people are saying, bring on metaverses. We want to see what they are, who they are, what they're doing. And there's footage that I know they haven't seen yet that I've seen that we'll show throughout this. But why don't we go from there, Marie? Why don't you tell us, what is MetaVersus World? Pretend that our community knows nothing about it. Go ahead and just break it down for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, we prepared a little bit of a short deck. Now, don't worry, we're not going to PowerPoint everybody to death. But I think it's really important to set the scene of what we're building, how we're building, and who we're building it for, and some of the key problems that we solve. Let me just click in here. Sorry, I've got a couple of screens running, so I just want to make sure that everything clicks through properly. Okay, great. So obviously you have myself and Roxana here as our interim CMO. You can see here we've got our Ready Player Me avatars populated, ready to go. That's one of the integrations that we've recently made, and you would have seen some press about our integration there. I have a slide further down to go a little bit more into that. But to answer your question of who is MetaVersus, what do we do? What is our metaverse all about? I think first and foremost, you have to really dig into what is the metaverse and what isn't the metaverse as well, right? So if you ask a lot of people on the street, they'll say, oh, the metaverse is virtual reality, or the metaverse is augmented reality, or the metaverse is virtual worlds. And all of those answers, whilst they're somewhat correct, they're also incorrect. It's like kind of trying to define the internet. Basically, the metaverse is the evolution of the internet. It's Web3. So a metaverse is we are a virtual world within the metaverse. So that's a key thing to really distinguish. But some of the key component parts of virtual worlds, Web3, and the metaverse are that they're persistent, that they're always on. There is a huge amount of transparency there because obviously we are on the blockchain. And they are kind of very much 3D social mediums that kind of provide value for people in shared experiences. On the slide here, you can see a definition that we actually put in our white paper, because there's a lot of people out there trying to define what the metaverse is. And we think Tim Sweeney kind of really nailed it quite succinctly in this sentence, saying that it's a real time 3D social medium where people can create and engage in shared experiences as equal participants in an open economy with societal impact. And we really like that. And as it kind of articulates in the slide here, it's something that we've really tried to embody and something that we agree with in metaverses.
Maury, also, I was going to say that definition, not only have I not seen that definition before, because it's really interesting. So Ready Player One was on TV yesterday, and I was explaining to my wife. So you see this, I was trying to explain like what the metaverse is. I'm talking to some folks tomorrow who are like, they're embodying like Ready Player One practically. But she wasn't, she didn't really get it, right? So everybody has these sort of definitions for what a metaverse is. I have not heard it put so succinctly, but also open. It's broad. It's not just a one thing. It's not just an economy. It's not just a medium. It's people participating in the economy in a social sort of setting, right? It's you guys are open and you're not just kind of pigeonholing yourself into one thing. It's sort of what I really like about this.
That's right. That's right. Before I just quickly move on to the definition of MetaVersus World ourselves, I just wanted to see if Roxana wanted to add anything to this slide here about what the metaverse is.
I think the only thing that I want to add, because that's a very good description of what the metaverse is all about. Kids are loving it. Kids are on Roblox. More and I are always talking about the 9-year-olds and the 10-year-olds that are on Roblox and on Minecraft, and they absolutely love it. So they're the future generation, right? So they see something that maybe some of our own peers can't understand. That's how we know we're building for the future, but we are serving today.
Absolutely, that's right.
Yeah, and you see that. My nieces, for example, are playing this stuff, and I said I'm starting to feel older now because I'm remembering what it was like when I was younger, and older folks like my parents, and whatnot, didn't get Super Nintendo, they didn't get MySpace, and they didn't get Nintendo 64, and now I'm like looking at Roblox, like, what is this? So I'm starting to feel that way, but it's something that as you see generations kind of change over time, the metaverse is where a lot of things are going. So I think the fact that you guys have positioned yourself as one of the best ones, I think you really positioned yourself to be something really, really big here.
Yeah, it's funny what you said when you're saying that a lot of people are like don't understand what Roblox is or these different platforms. It feels like we're in 1996 in internet terms, and that's something I kind of talk about a lot with people. Like, when people are saying the internet is a fad, oh, what do you need email for? What's all we're at that point where with cryptocurrency and Web3, and it's really the the digital natives, the younger generations that are really kind of leading the charge here. So it's really interesting to see. And Rox talked about Roblox. I have a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old, and they're saying to me, "Hey, come and join me in my server." I mean, if you see most 30 or 40-year-olds, they haven't got a clue what's going on, and I actually learn a lot from them. They're the best, best alpha testers.
You know what? And they're honest. They'll tell you if it's amazing or if it sucks. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, they don't have a filter. That's for sure. That's
right.
So just to dive into metaverses. So metaverses is a hyper-realistic, interactive, virtual multiverse full of multiple worlds and different levels. So I like to characterize what we do as fusing the worlds of traditional online gaming, so the likes of Tony Hawk skateboarding, Call of Duty, Fortnite, etc., with this emergent world of metaverse blockchain gaming, as you see in Axie Infinity, Second Life, Sandbox, Decentraland, etc. But as the slide says here, and I've taken a lot of these slides from our standard pitch deck and kind of adapted them for the purposes of this live stream that we have here. But we're more than that. We're more than just a virtual world. So we see ourselves as a tech company that helps transition brands from Web 2 into Web 3, delivering premium experiences for them, for their community, for their audiences, for our community, creating these combined experiences, activations, and kind of worlds of commerce, if you like, nations, for our community to come and really engage with a whole bunch of kind of different levels and layers of complexity, ranging from events to NFTs, access passes, citizenships, stores, that type of thing. So, the big thing for us is we've seen in the kind of current bear market that we have, if you build it, people typically probably won't come as much as they would have done in the past. And Web3 is a big topic at the moment for a lot of brands trying to experiment in the metaverse, in the Web3 ecosystem. So acting as a premium partner for these brands to deliver experiences in hyper reality. And as you can see from the video that you're playing here, that we're delivering this in Unreal Engine 5. So the graphics are best in class.
Very unreal.
Yeah, very unreal. So comparatively to what you've seen in Sandbox and Decentraland, where it's pixelated by design in these platforms. A lot of people knock them because of that, but it's to do with the ability for anybody on any device to be able to play these games. It's a challenge to deliver the super high fidelity across all different platforms and all different devices with different levels of connectivity and internet connection.
Murray, if I can just interrupt you, because we're showing people the videos from our world. So what you saw was the Meta City, which is the main city, and this one is the Westworld City, which is a Westworld inspired virtual world. What you're seeing right now is some of the activities that you can do. This is not a bot, by the way. This is actually a real person playing using a privacy shield, which we have integrated, which makes you look like a bot when you want to hide your identity or want to, have increased privacy when you're playing the games and engaging in the activities.
That's right.
So this is, just to confirm, this is in-game footage right now?
Yeah, this is in-game footage.
I just want to confirm that, because oftentimes a lot of these projects will show like a cinematic sort of thing, and it's like they'll say not in-game footage, and you're like, oh, okay. But this is real in-game footage. I'm going to start cycling through these videos so people can keep seeing them. But so this is alpha right now. This is not even like, this is not a final product. It's going to get even better, right?
Yeah. This is alpha. So we're starting with 3 worlds. So we're starting with Meta City, the Fashionverse, and the Wild West verse that you've been kind of siphoning through little snippets of. So yeah, these are real footage, and it's actually, you make a really good point there, Matt, that there's a lot of projects in the last 18 to 20 months, particularly while we were still in a kind of bull market, that have raised considerable sums of money on the back of a white paper, an idea, perhaps a video that they put together with no real substance and no real build. And we've kind of done things the other way around. And we've built our product first with what is comparatively minimal investment compared to some of the other projects that have raised 15, 20, 30 million dollars. And we've done it the right way around. And the feedback that we get is that when we go to talk to brands and we talk to partners in all different areas, that they can really see the value and the difference that we're delivering. So we're really excited about what we've built, and finally getting to the point of delivering the alpha. It's exciting times.
I saw this and I said, oh wow, this looks great. And then you're like, yeah, this is an alpha. I said, it's an alpha? This is not even finished yet. So I thought, wow, you guys look better in alpha than most projects look that have been out for months, years, right? And I just thought, man, I mean, you guys really take the word unreal and you put it into the game. You're quite embodying in that word. So I can't believe it's going to get any better than this. I mean, this looks like, and I know there's been some like comparisons, not, pigeonhole you into a specific like franchise, but like a Grand Theft Auto kind of open world, sort of game. I've seen stuff like that where I'm thinking, man, if they could really make this more of a role-playing element with a social element, with an economical element. I always thought you would really have something. I kind of feel like that's what you guys are doing.
Absolutely. So if you think about like Grand Theft Auto is a great example, and if you think about integrating kind of Web 2 e-commerce with Grand Theft Auto plus Web 3 mechanics, obviously digital wallets and cryptocurrency and blockchain, etc., then you get this kind of magic formula where you can just do so much more with the medium, and the community and the audiences for brands and gamers and the creator economy can come in and really just do stuff that hasn't been possible up until this point. And when it comes to building experiences, the only limit really is your creativity, and I guess as a brand, what your risk profile is and the time that you have to deliver. But there's so much you can do out there.
Let me ask this: why do you think something like this, that's this good, hasn't been done yet? What's the barrier that you guys have overcome?
I think the feedback we got when we were talking to Crowd Create, which is our official marketing agency for global and our fractional CMO, so they're quite heavily invested and involved in the project as well. They said, you guys built in about 6 months what others build in 2 years. I think because during the bull run, it was very easy to raise money. People focused on raising the money and then building. Whereas we were at a point where we only needed this much, to essentially build the closed alpha, and then do the extra investment rounds to further expand the worlds, to add more lore, more appetite for different worlds and for different gameplay. I think that's the difference, because we really took the path least taken, if I am to say that, right?
I think that's a good segue into looking at some of the key problems that we solve. It's all well and good building a gaming style metaverse where people can come in and have fun. But I really think that to get to the point of mass adoption and onboarding brands and creating big experiences that are on their way to replacing Web 2, you gotta look at helping the brands and those communities. So there's 3 key problems that we kind of highlighted when we were looking at the market. And the first one is that the current metaverse worlds don't deliver for brands and consumers. Now, that's not to knock these experiences. They've been pioneering. They are pixelated and cartoonish by design. But as we move forward to delivering more valuable experiences that people are used to in their Web 2 environments, or in their, how they interact on social platforms, how they, interact in their spare time on, gaming worlds, they're used to much better, more high fidelity type of experiences. The second is that the metaverse is complicated to understand. Nobody can really define it. It's very difficult to define. It's like asking someone to define what the internet is. That's a very hard thing to define in a couple of sentences. And then the third thing, quite importantly is about Web3 IP, utility, value, and interoperability. We've all seen the NFT hype, people like BAYC, etc., going out there, and NFTs are typically, they were a mechanism for people to make a quick buck, or make a lot of bucks on a quick flip, and it's kind of changing now to more towards a utility type focus, and brands are wondering, how can we get our IP into Web3, into the metaverse, and how can we provide usability and utility to our IP, but also simplify the process. So these are some of the key areas that we've been focusing on. So delivering a really great premium experience on both sides of the fence for brands and for the consumers, simplifying it and making it really easy for brands to come in and experiment with and adapt. Actually, I think I skipped the second point there when I was going through. So the metaverse is complicated, and brands don't really know how it works, and it's difficult for them to experiment. And we've got a couple of slides further down where we talk about a new approach that we have to enable brands to come and experiment and learn about the metaverse. So these are the key 3 areas that we are focusing on. When I talk about the metaverse worlds not being, being a little bit subpar from what we've seen, we talk about the graphics and the avatar representation, but the stores are pretty uninspiring as well. If you go into obviously a brick and mortar store, but if you go into a store on Web2, there's millions of dollars put into the look and feel and the experience and the feeling that those experiences make you feel. When people interact with their brands, it's much more emotional. And you when you're in a world that is very pixelated and cartoony with not much utility, you lose that emotion. So we're trying to bring that emotion and that reality back in there. Asset utility has been pretty low. So you might be able to go into the Gucci store or the Tommy Hilfiger store and buy a t-shirt or a pair of sneakers for your avatar, but there's not much utility with that. So we're really trying to flip that on its head and turn these assets in some instances into 3D assets where you can buy a Balenciaga handbag and take that handbag and use it as your access pass to get into a limited edition event where you can see your favorite artist, for example. So trying to add much more utility to these digital assets.
It's also collectible. Collectibles don't need to be rational. Baseball cards collectors, a few decades ago, they don't need to be rational because they are not rational. They are very subjective. So if someone really likes something, and with the whole narrative of owning less that we have right now in the physical world, it only makes sense for people that do want to own more to find their comfort into the virtual world.
That's right.
So I love what you just said, Marie, because that gives you a reason to actually own something in this, as opposed to, well, I can buy a Tommy Hilfiger bag and it kind of looks cool on my avatar, but what does it do? Like, this actually does something. This can get you into like an exclusive event that could be put on by like a partner of this brand, right? So there's brand awareness, there's cross marketing, and there's actual like events that you can attend that are like unique, and you get there by using the utility that is attached to these items. So in a lot of these metaverses I've seen, it's like, well, why? There's no reason to really own this thing other than unless you want to sell it as an NFT or something. But what I like about what you said is there's actually a real reason to own this stuff.
Yeah, that's right. I think I must have spent hundreds of dollars on Roblox t-shirts and kit for my kids. But at the end of the day, it just sits in their inventory. And obviously, I know, Roblox isn't a typical metaverse platform, as you might characterize it. But it's a very good comparison to what we're talking about here with digital assets and adding value to those and having a marketplace and secondary marketplaces, aside from something's rarity, to give it value. So talking about the utility. But just to quickly flip through the other points on this slide here. So, we've seen big marketing budgets from big brands. I think Tommy Hilfiger was the latest one, but there's obviously Gucci and all those other big names that have come in. And there's really low engagement after the initial hype. Sorry, Roxana, go ahead.
Tiffany & Co. was the recent one with the CryptoPunks.
That's right. And there's a lot of people go in there, they check it out. I think, if you're on this live stream, listening to Metaverse chat, you've probably been into Sandbox or Decentraland and some of these other platforms. If you go into these stores, it's interesting for 5 minutes. Speaking from a personal perspective, there's not much to do. So there's low user gratification in there. And there was some press recently about the real daily usage numbers for Sandbox and Decentraland of being like 30, 40 people. And I think my 8-year-old rather, has more people in her Roblox server than that on a daily basis.
Isn't that crazy? They're asking you to join their server. You're like, you have a server?
No. But again, I don't want to knock those big early pioneers. They're really fantastic and they've done a great job getting things going. And it's a new brave new world, and we've got to develop new experiences to bring people in. And then just to finish off on here, I don't want to linger too much on this slide. As it relates to kind of brands, there's little to no focus about the long-term value and the kind of brand representation that's in there. So something that we're really trying to do is change the scene here.
Yeah. So you are just to clarify. So you're partnering with real brands like a Gucci, for example.
For example, so it's important to say that we're just in the initial stages of talking to brands. We have more conversations than we can handle going on at the moment.
Oh, great. Good problem to have.
Pardon?
Oh, it's a good problem to have.
It's a good problem to have, for sure. But, we've been very much heads down building out the platform and getting it kind of alpha ready so we can get it in the hands of testers. And then whilst we're taking the feedback from the alpha testers and then implementing that into our next release, we'll be delivering some experiences for some brands in there. I have a slide later on about a couple of brands that we're working with already. But yeah, so we have, without giving too much away, a contract with a company to introduce us to over 250 different brands.
Wow.
And every time we speak to somebody brand related, the feedback that we get is phenomenal. Not just about what you can see on this slide here with the hyper realism, photorealistic environments, but about the focus that we are applying to simplify for brands to help them come and test the water. That's really critical.
So let me just ask real quick, because people are looking at this. So, for example, this is I think you call it the fashion world.
Yeah, this is the fashion.
So, first of all, I think this is really cool, and I just point this out if nobody has noticed this. When I first saw this, I said, "Oh, this looks just like one of the shopping centers in Las Vegas. It has like the sky up there, where you're indoors and it's nighttime, and it's kind of like trippy because you think it's daytime."
Yes, like the Venetian.
Like the Venetian example, yeah. So what I wanted to ask is, a lot of these brands you're partnering with, they would actually have, like, for example, a store in this area that you could actually go and buy their branded items in the game.
Correct. And you can try it out, and if you like it on your avatar, you can buy it, and it's going to have additional utility based on what they want to assign. And this the black line that you see, that's the longest catwalk in the metaverse. Essentially, this is where we're going to have essentially models, and you can actually interactively click and buy some
Oh
of
my
the
gosh.
things being displayed.
Wow. And how would a brand, so let me back up. So if, for example, I wanted to open up a xetacapital store, just as an example, how would something like that work? Can any person just come in and open a store in here? Or what does that look like from the brand side of things?
Well, in the long run, we're going to be opening things up to the creator economy once we get beyond the open beta stage. But as it relates to our initial first kind of phase, we want to bring in some of the larger brand names to help bring in the communities and the following and the audiences that they have. And we've created something that we're calling Metaverse as a Service. So if you think about software as a service, we've created a number of solutions and frameworks to really simplify the onboarding process for brands coming into the metaverse. So we have, and I have a couple of slides further down in our presentation that talks to it. But basically,
Wow.
I'm kind of skipping ahead here a little bit, but we've t-shirt sized it into kind of small, medium, large. As it relates specifically to the fashion verse, for example, you can get a small store that has this list of functionality, medium with this, and then you've got the premium, which is somewhat unlimited, which has the ability to leverage our marketplace, which is optimized for brands as much as it is for consumers as well.
So I hope you guys are seeing why I'm saying I'm not even like a big metaverse person, but even I know this is better than anything out there. And I think you guys are starting to just get a little bit of a sliver as to why that's the case.
Yeah, I have a few videos to play at the end, some kind of sneak peeks that I don't think you've even seen, Matthew, as well.
Oh, looking forward to it.
Yeah. Brox, do you want to say anything on this slide, or should I just skip through?
I need my glasses. Getting
I know
old.
the feeling.
Yeah. So we kind of sat down the other day thinking, how do we explain metaverses to people so they actually get that very complete platform? And to just nail it down, we've built for brands and their digital consumers, which is fairly different from other projects. Because I know everyone asks us about the competitors. The competitors in the space, they build for retail, because these projects were built during a bull run, and the interest was, get something out there, pump the token, etc., etc. Now they're struggling. They're partnering with brands because brands are people, right? So we just thought, why would we focus on retail when we obviously there's a B2C component, right? We do have a community. We'll give them opportunities to name streets in the metaverse, in our meta city, to if they win the opportunity to name a park, name a statue. That's something really cool that we can do for them even now. But the main core point is, we want to help brands because they are struggling. They're spending money. Advertising budgets are massively spent on Facebook and Google ads. They don't necessarily convert. Your target audience, kind of slips away. You're hoping to reach them. You never know if these people are real. But we bring them into a space where you have loyalty programs, which means I can just take my most loyal customers and consumers and loyalize them even further. Because to launch global ambassador programs is very, very costly. So not all brands can do that. If you're a premium brand, you can, but if you're like a mid-size or, handmade or anything that's eco-friendly, they don't have the budget. So we're there to support them, and we essentially want to walk them through the whole thing. And they get all the perks and all the benefits of a virtual environment, essentially using it, and it's like Lego, right? Like modules that you build together, and then that becomes a whole new entity in itself.
Yeah,
and I also, you touched on something that's so important there about targeting brands. If you think about like a shopping center, yeah, you might go there and hang out with your friends, but you're going there primarily to buy something from a company that has a brand. So it's interesting that you said it's kind of like a lot of DeFi projects that came out and didn't really have like a lot of utility during a bull run. Right now, it's kind of like, oh, how do we build this thing in bear market? If we're in a bear market, some people debate it, but if we're in a bear market, how do we build this thing? Oh, we actually have to do something. Oh, we have to actually innovate. Oh, we have to actually have real utility. So you guys are not scared about building in a bear market, because Zeta Capital also launched in a bear market, and I said, this is when I think you can really prove that you have something, because in a bull market, people are just throwing money all over the place. They have no clue what they're putting it in. They're pulling from here, moving over there. Now you have to really do your research and really have to understand what it is you're putting your time and attention and resources into, which means you have to actually have something. You have to have the goods. So you guys are not scared of building the bear market, I take it.
Well, if you look at, they say that bull markets cause bear developments, bear markets cause bull developments, right? So it's kind of like that. Most of the kind of the best projects out there were built during a bear market, because the focus always had to be building the product, and it was harder to get the money, so to get the funding, and then you'd have to really, really deliver something that was completely different than anything out there. So I think in this sense, we're very lucky, if I can say so. And probably we've never worked on another project so hard during a bull run as we're working on MetaVersus World during a bear run. And we're very, very happy to bring this to the space. And I think just to wrap up the whole brand thing, it's amazing what you can do once you have an NFT collection that's on a public blockchain. You can pull out all the wallets and you can retarget those wallets with NFT drops. So you bring them back into your brand, and you can bring them back into your world, because they do check their wallets more often than they check their inboxes.
Absolutely. Well, please go ahead. Metaverse as a service. I've got to see this.
Yeah, so we've just kind of really gone over that, but I think the core messaging here is simplification and experimentation. Brands need to be able to come in and experiment, and being forced to buy a parcel of land for $1 million doesn't give you the ability to experiment. So it's really important that we can do that, and trying to give brands the ability to test the water, so to speak, but deliver premium polished experiences at the same time, is what we're trying to do with Metaverse as a service. And that's really what that means. One of the core pieces that is different for us, and as we kind of touched upon when we talked about this, is the marketplace, brands bringing IP, digital collections into this world, and creating a very much circular economy. So as with this good old-fashioned Venn diagram here, who doesn't love a Venn diagram? We've got marketplaces, IP in gaming platforms, and then your traditional kind of collectibles. Now there are some lines that are blurred here, but you can't take your Roblox digital assets and sell them on Super Rare or Magic Eden or wherever else. So there's just not a good amount of unity between all these different spheres, and something that we've picked up upon for brands to be able to come into the metaverse, and for the audiences and the consumers that follow these brands, there needs to be a lot more integration and a lot more unity between these different areas. And that's something that we're trying to do with metaverses, so that you can come into a store, you can buy a digital asset, you can use it as a access. Just give an example here. You can use it as an access pass to get into something. It really actually has some utility behind it, and the world is your oyster when it comes to that kind of creativity behind the utility. But then you'll be able to use this in our marketplace, and buy, sell, and trade as well. And then that even kind of extends into secondary marketplaces, as we work with other different partners. So this enables the brands to be able to come in and create different collections and have a lot more openness to the world of Web3 and Metaverse as it relates to their IP for their community.
So how do you see these brands, or do you see any kind of cross-pollination with these brands as they come into MetaVersus World? I mean, is there any chance you think that they'll kind of combine forces to have utility, a kind of a co-op sort of situation?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think we're already seeing a bunch of collaborations out there at the moment. I saw Bugatti did a collaboration with BAYC. I can't think of any of the more prominent ones off the top of my head, but there's definitely a lot of.
There have been a few. What the advantage we have is that brands don't need to deploy their own smart contracts if they want to do NFT collections and bring their IP into the metaverse, right? So they can use our smart contract, and it's designed for that. It's supporting different standards for NFTs. And brands, they'll have a dashboard. We're actually working on designing this brand dashboard into the marketplace, where they can actually customize their NFT mint, kind of set a certain amount of collections, have these stats and the data that they need, whitelist wallets if they want to. So I think it's very interesting because they can. It's not hard to set up a wallet nowadays, right? The hardest part is, how do I pay for it? So that means that's where we need the support of MoonPay and different payment integrators. If you're, if you want to pay with debit card, credit card, if you're crypto native, then obviously it's fairly simple for you. Just connect your MetaMask and you pay, and then you get the NFT. And for brands, they do want, I think more than anything, they want the exposure and awareness, which is a different form of marketing and advertising for them. And because it's so new and it's like uncharted territory for now. Imagine if we're on a map, on a gaming map, and the brands are just slowly, one by one advancing and discovering the map, right? That's where they are right now. That gives them amazing opportunities to just put their brand on the map and say, we're at the forefront. We are the ones that are embracing the next wave, and we are the pioneers. And to give that much power to a brand that essentially has to go with the trends, right? To tell them you can pioneer, you don't have to go with the trend. You're not in competition anymore with this other brand that does another handbag, or this other brand that creates furniture. You can pioneer this, and you're in full control, and we're here to support you, and we have very cheap options if you can't afford a full price. That's massive for them from a B2B perspective.
Oh, go ahead, please.
I was just going to say that, like, I think everything that Roxana said there actually translates perfectly kind of into this slide. Where, and again, into that whole point of Web3 is very different in the sense that if you think about Web2 and the kind of digital advertising models that are out there, where data is the oil, the consumer is the product, you're getting hammered with algorithms, Facebook ads, Google ads. It's invasive for the community. People are kind of fed up with that, and it's getting more and more difficult for brands to get noticed. And now the community, the users, the citizens of Web3, they have much more control over whether they can give away their data. I think on Brave browser, for example, you can make money by giving away your data, and you can choose where you want to do that. So there's a whole bunch of new different types of mechanics that work their way into the metaverse and into Web3 here. And I think that consumers and brands, they really want something new. So it's really interesting the way that things are going, and we're trying to incorporate that as far as possible. But obviously we're a virtual world, so we can't do everything. We don't want to boil the ocean, so to say. But what we are doing is trying to take these different technical components and Web3 philosophies and apply them as far as possible into our worlds so that they deliver value and they make sense and there's utility behind it. So, when you come in and you are doing a bit of virtual shopping in the metaverse, there's sophisticated kind of gamification behind that. So when a brand comes in and creates a store, they could have a treasure hunt, an Easter egg hunt. You could have some kind of customization competition or whatever it might be. So you're not just coming and browsing 2D assets to add into your digital wallet, for example. I've talked a little bit about creating more utility by moving 2D assets into 3D. We're actually working with a motorbike company that does NFTs for their motorbike, which is one part of what they do, but actually making these rideable in the metaverse. Adding that to the photorealistic environments, and then you can really create a digital twin of yourself in metaverses in conjunction with the marketplace, and also having low risk and high reward through these flexible business models is really important. If you can make it so that it costs less for a brand to come in, you're going to get more brands coming in and trying. And if they're doing it with the caliber of the premium look and feel experiences that we're doing, we're going to get a much more populated space.
Right. If you don't mind, I'd like to just throw some questions your way as we go along. Some folks are asking, somebody would like to know, what consoles will this be on? Will it be current gaming consoles? Is there going to be a VR component to it, or what would that look like?
It's not going to be VR, at least in the foreseeable future. It's a downloadable client for PC, and we're working on getting it on Steam as well. So actually, we were talking before about rewards and perks that we could offer to the audience today. That would be whitelist of alpha passes, essentially, so you can actually experience the worlds and explore metaverses and let us know your feedback. And that may be in the form of a Steam key, for example, in the beginning.
Yeah. And as we get towards the end of it, I didn't mention this verbally. I mentioned it in Xeta Capital's Discord. We're going to have something special for those of you who own zones. So please stay towards the end. I'll be sharing what that is with you. Somebody's asking a question. Will brands be able to build their own cities and custom logic and mechanics within the game? I think that's kind of your metaverse as a service. And I was going to touch on that. I think you guys are kind of delivering a all-in-one kind of inclusive service for brands that want to get involved. Is that right?
Yeah,
that's right. In the long run, we will be having the ability for brands and the community to be able to come in and create their own virtual worlds, inhabit virtual apartments, have storefronts, etc. What we're starting, the low-hanging fruit for us is stores. And that's just our starting point. I think probably towards the end of 2023 is when we'll start to be opening up the ability for brands to create their own worlds. We will be creating an SDK, which is a software development kit, which will be available for brands to come in, and as they become more mature and sophisticated as it relates to Web3 and metaverse type worlds, they'll have teams, they'll have assets that they can just easily populate in. But the starting blocks for us are offering these essentially t-shirt sized storefronts, starting with Fashion World. And then as we go through the quarters of the year, we will be evolving our metaverse as a service to incorporate more features, more functionality, more usability, etc.
Just to add a quick note, the IP marketplace, which essentially is the NFT collections, is going to be released a bit later than the closed alpha. Obviously, they're two separate products, so we need to ensure that we build one and then we focus on the other. But it's going to be released fairly close within a few months. And it's not just established brands; it's also personal brands such as creators, artists that can actually create their first, bring their IP into Web3 and create their first NFT collections.
I see.
And share them with the world. And it's topped up at 100 NFTs per collection.
I just want to do, Matt, how long do we have scheduled today? Because I want to make sure we're not boring people to death with a PowerPoint presentation here.
Well, I'll tell you what, since it's recorded, I'd say let's just go on and people will be able to later skip through.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I don't want to labor these slides too much because, we're essentially, we're all about creating fun.
I will ask this question really quick. So just so people are aware, right now, MetaVersus World is not anybody can just go and play this right now. This is not open for the public to just go and start testing. Is that right?
That's right. So it's closed alpha right now. So next week we're launching our closed alpha.
Gotcha.
And that has a limited number of testers, if you like, that we have invited from the public community, from our partners and stakeholders and investors, influencers, etc., to come in and sample the product, test it out for us with some instruction, so that we can take that feedback and make it better.
Okay, perfect. Just wanted to plant that in people's minds as we progress on that this is currently closed. We might have something for you if you stay towards the end.
Excellent, excellent. So just to kind of go a bit more into the product. So in MetaVersus World, you can create your own app. We have our own character creator, custom avatar engine, where you can come in and use Unreal Engine 5 to create an avatar of yourself that is entirely lifelike. Then as you can see on the screen here, we have a whole, like if you go into Ready Player Me or most of the other avatar creator engines, there's at most maybe 20 different selections that you can have for a hairstyle or for, the type of stubble that you have or, body shape or whatever that might be. But with Unreal Engine 5, it's so much more layered and so much more detailed. You can adjust the length of your stubble. You can change your weight. You can change your facial structure. There's just too many different, areas to go through. So eyes, mouth, nose, ears, chin, eyelashes, etc. It's so detailed, and we really want to enable people to be able to express themselves how they want to be, or even have a digital twin of themselves. We've already mentioned we did the integration with Ready Player Me. That's gone extremely well. So if you have a Ready Player Me avatar, you can import your avatar into MetaVersus World and play with the avatar in there. We did a bunch of press releases with them recently on Cointelegraph, Yahoo News, Yahoo Finance, Bazinga, a bunch of other publications recently. And we're also pleased to say that we're going to be doing a panel chat at Decentral in Miami at the end of November with these guys, along with our fractional CMO marketing partner, which is CrowdCreate. So we're going to be chatting about all things Metaverse at Decentral. There'll be videos of that coming out, and if anybody's going there, please do tune in for that.
Yeah, maybe worth sharing just a few conferences that we're gonna be present as. We're in Japan at Honeycon. We are going to have a booth with our Philippines marketing team at Web3 Festival, the one organized by YGG. We're going to be at Istanbul Blockchain Week with our Turkish marketing team, Crypto Turkey. So come find the hat. We're going to talk about living in the matrix. And we'll be at Decentral as well for this year, with a few more conferences planned for next year.
Let me ask this real quick. We're touching on a lot of stuff here, and it's a lot to take in, but let me ask this question, kind of just boil down what some people are thinking. How would you say this is different than other metaverses out there? If you had to kind of just 80-20 it, these are the main things, this is what we're doing, this is what they're not doing. A lot of the popular ones out there, I won't mention, people know who they are.
Yeah.
How are you guys different?
There's actually stuff to do that you want to do.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
In a metaverse, imagine that.
Yeah. So I think what we've tried to do is understand different player types. So we have, we're starting off with these 3 initial worlds that we talked about: the Fashionverse, the Meta City, and the Wild West. So there you already have a wide range of variety. And then inside each of these different worlds, there are a number of different activities to do. So in the Wild West, you can go to the shooting range, you can ride horses,
Nice.
fishing. In Meta City, you can race cars, you can ride a skateboard in the skate park, and in all of these different areas and various pieces of the levels, as it suggests in the name metaverses, there is the ability to compete and be rewarded for your participation, from time spent in the world to your standing in leaderboards, for example, as well. And then once you layer in the commerce aspect that you have for primarily Fashionverse to start with, but we will also be doing different brand activations and hosting events. And we've even toyed with the idea of partnering with companies to do mocap, motion capture. So there's nothing to stop you from putting a DJ at Pasha in a motion capture suit and doing live stream or pre-recorded events that are in our nightclub in metaverses. And maybe you have to buy some kind of NFT as an access pass to get in. It's so to answer to get back to the point of your question, what's different and what's unique about us is that, as I just outlined, there's a whole bunch of different component pieces that I feel that are available in fragmented areas of different metaverse worlds and different Web 2 experiences and different social platforms that we're kind of combining into one area to create a very compelling experience for both creators and the community.
We're also looking at successful gameplay and then successful gameplay that died. So example, successful gameplay, Candy Crush. Yeah, that's a fairly simple game that's very interoperable, has SDKs, anyone can integrate it, customize it, and put it in their app store. Among Us, which died, got revived by live streaming by influencers on Twitch, and then died again because obviously it became boring. So for us, it's fairly relevant. We start with 3 virtual worlds. People can explore. People have games. They have social experiences. And then we're going to add to that constantly, either from ourselves, from partner gaming studios, from partner integrations, right? Because nothing stops us from integrating with other gaming focused metaverses, for example, and just make sure that people don't get bored being in these worlds.
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize that unlike traditional products, we're going to be in a state of continuous development. So that means releasing as much as possible, and then I flipped back a couple of slides here because I think this relates to your question. Was like, what makes us different is these kind of 8 different core blocks: customization, gameplay, kind of competitive natureness of it, activations, commerce, the sublime kind of environments and activities that we have, community feedback, voting, social interaction, so you'll be able to chat and voice chat in the long run with other avatars, and then the digital assets and collectibles that you can get from
and most importantly, something that we didn't have there, user experience is translated into time spent in our virtual world. And this is something that a lot of these metaverse projects before didn't really focus on, because you go, you explore for 10 minutes, it's empty, there's nothing to do, you get bored, you leave. So the time you spend, the time you invest in these gameplays is fairly important. This is what Roblox really nailed down. Because if you don't like one world, you go into another. You don't like one server, you join another. But you're always, you're always putting time as your core resource into it.
So I don't want to gloss over the motion capture thing for a minute. So you could technically, like we're looking right here, we see this city. You see how there's like a sports arena there. Okay. So there could be a real life event somewhere, call it a concert, a play, whatever it may be, where you could almost mimic that event in your metaverse and almost have like the real life audience and like the metaverse audience technically.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, these are visionary pieces that are further down the roadmap. We obviously
Sure.
have to establish the building blocks first. But absolutely, I mean, the ability to add these varying different, ways of engaging the community through new technological advancements is critical. And I think that all the brands, especially in the entertainment and sports space, want to do that. If you look at professional sports, so UFC, NBA, NFL, all these big international sports followings, they're starting to film in 3D. So they have 3D cameras by the pitches.
Right,
So,
I've seen that.
yeah, so you can, if you have an Oculus or a VR headset, you can go and you can be ringside at an NFC, fight, or you can be courtside and watch the New York Knicks play.
Wow.
You can be, watching Messi play on the international stage playing football. So there's a whole host of innovative ways in which we can deliver engaging experiences, but it's very easy to get carried away with the potential without actually doing the groundwork first.
Of
So
course.
ultimately, yeah, we do want to have these types of experiences. We're not there yet, but we're positioning ourselves to be able to do so in the coming years.
Well, you have a roadmap here. I'm sure people are really wondering. That's actually one of the questions I keep getting in our Discord is what's the kind of the 1, 3, 10-year plan? What's next on the horizon? What are you guys doing? So let's get into your roadmap.
Yeah, so obviously right now we're barreling into Q4 right now. So we're just about to next week go ahead with this closed alpha launch, which will be shortly followed by our marketplace. We're closing out our rounds. We're adding in all the kind of staking and access pools that we need to make the experience cohesive and holistic. And then, as we roll into 2023, we'll be looking at taking community feedback, improving the current experiences that we have, building out new worlds, adding to the experience, so taking that feedback and making the gaming better, making the rewards better, taking stuff out, adding stuff in. So I wanted to make sure that we're building upon solid foundations. I'm going to jump out of this presentation and I'm going to share some.
You have some videos, right?
Videos, yes. So,
bring the merchandise more.
Looking forward to that. Looking forward to that. And then we'll still take your questions. If you are tuning in live, obviously ask your questions in the comments. If you're not in Xeta Capital's Discord, that's a great place to ask questions as well in the AMA question channel, or really just in pretty much any chat where you can get a hold of me. If you're not in there at xetacapital.com, if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see our Discord link there as well. So we'll take your questions as long as we have a few more minutes here, and then we'll get into something really exciting. Let's check out your video. What you got going here?
Yeah. So I'm actually just going to mute it because it's got some
Yeah, sure, no problem.
awful music in the background that our developer put on there. I'm not knocking his taste in music. Well, I am. But, give you a bit of a look and feel of what we've built here. You can see that the environment in Unreal Engine 5 is absolutely incredible. We have NPCs in and around the world as well, so you'll be able to approach various different NPCs and get instructions on how to interact, how to use your avatar, where to go, etc. They will be issuing, quests and tasks, etc. As we build out our open, as we build out the closed alpha and move into the open beta. Wow. This is our city hall that you can see right here. So this is where we actually have a MetaVersus workspace. So you might see some NPCs of Roxana and myself sitting at our desks working. Maybe we'll have some tasks to issue. They rolled into the Wild West verse here. I think he's going to. I've only just got this video demo through today. So.
Oh wow! So you just teleport right to the different worlds.
Correct.
That's right. So you can teleport to different worlds through the larger gates. So at the moment, it's important to understand that we're still stitching together. The team, we actually migrated from Unreal Engine 4.2 to Unreal Engine 5 over the past month or so, and they're still going through the process of migrating the old build to the new one. So some of the assets, like the teleportation gates, like you can see right now, that they're not in there, but they were in the last build, and they will be in there when we release the alpha version. So the team's working hard to integrate all the upgraded assets into this new build here. This is the privacy avatar that you can see there.
Got it. And how many? Do you have a plan for how many worlds you intend to release and what that looks like?
It's a good question. I mean, ultimately, we intend to have dozens of worlds.
Wow.
But obviously, if you look at the complexity and the depth of what we're building in each of these as they stand, maybe we'd probably be looking at a new world per quarter, something like that. I would estimate at is a good pace to be moving at once we've grown. But we've got to be successful with our alpha and our beta. We need to have the user numbers. We need to have the economy. We have to get all the gears working properly before we can really start to grow massively. Because if we grow too fast, it's more detrimental than anything.
Right. Absolutely. And that content, I'm watching this, I'm thinking it goes farther than your eye can even see. Is there any kind of limit to the size of these worlds where you get to the point where no more brands can come in because it's literally all the real estate's gone?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's all about the way you design your system design. Ultimately, it's infinite. We can create as much or as little as possible. But if you think about it from a user experience, you don't want an infinite mall, and it's not good for attracting brands. If you don't want to you'd never be able to discover certain stores. And there's going to be a certain amount of churn as brands evolve, as the spaces evolve. So I think we want to limit it somewhat. And I think that's a conversation we haven't necessarily had internally about how many.
We talked about cycles. So we talked about potentially a brand coming in, getting a basic Metaverse as a service package. And then after 6 months, for example, they want to, increase and have more that's not covered in the package. And then they migrate to the intermediate. Or if they have the funds, they go to a fully bespoke, so they get their own virtual world. That's something that we discussed about. And
Right.
but in terms of revenue projections, it's fairly difficult at this point. We actually need to go to that process to reflect in our revenue model. So we go from a projection to an actual, data-based estimation, guesstimation.
Yeah, and I think having the real estate itself finite, limited, will give it a lot of intrinsic value. Can a player, a regular person, just like me, I'm not a brand, come in here and buy real estate, hoping to flip it, or what are you looking to do with that system?
We're exploring this with an actual tokenization real estate platform that's part of the Launchpool Labs incubator. So we're very, very close, and they crowdfund and tokenize property development from the ground up. So they have a lot of experience. The way we're going to start working together potentially next year would be just having furniture packages that typically real estate companies offer to people buying the flats, right? So that could be an option. There's been a few NFT projects that look at actually having each unit as an NFT. So I've been studying that space quite a lot and putting money into it without being successful. But we can look at it. There's a lot of opportunities. If you go behind the Meta City Hall, there are buildings. So essentially, those are units. That's real estate that's already built. So we could have, for example, representation from real world real estate companies that develop real estate property and they want a replication of that into the metaverse. We can start with that, and then further down the line, depending how regulations work out, because that's having an NFT that reflects a real world asset is a bit of a tricky question legally. So we're trying to explore that.
Sure, absolutely.
I think one of the things that we are looking to try and do that's pretty easy to fix is that kind of term phygital, and I'm not a fan of the word per se, but like mixing the physical and the digital together. So if you were to go in and buy a t-shirt from Hollister, and you click it, you click out your avatar, but then you have the option for it to take you to the Web2 site. It can take you straight there and you could buy it. Or there's the ability for brands to be able to, if somebody spends 20, 30, 50, $100 on a digital asset, they would have the option to be able to send that person a real world item, whether it's the same t-shirt or the same pair of sneakers in the post, or whether it's some other different mechanism. But there are different ways in which you can kind of merge the two together, so that if that does align with what a brand wants to do, then there are means and mechanisms to do that. They are kind of a bit of a workaround at the moment, but we're all trying to figure it out.
So technically, let's just say Xeta Capital wants to open a store, a merchandise store or something, and you buy a shirt, and we're like, yeah, when you buy this shirt, we'll actually ship you the real shirt. That's something that could be possible.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that's easily possible.
Very interesting. Very interesting. You're going to have brands. This is going to be a whole shopping experience. This is like almost like Amazon in a way in the metaverse. I mean, if a brand saw this and took advantage and said, hey, this is not just a metaverse, this is an experience with our brand, right? They could sell their merchandise, and this could almost be like an online shopping experience in addition to a metaverse.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. That's right.
Wow. Wow.
So I think you've shared, actually, the other videos that I had lined up, you've kind of been sharing as we've been chatting. So in terms of content that I had right now, that's all the content I had to share. I think that we had an hour and a half schedule, so we're running up on time. I just wanted to see if there's any other questions that you had coming through from the community there, Matt.
Yeah, I'm looking around. Let's see. So somebody's asking, you look at like a Decentraland, you look at what their like average daily users are. you start talking about bringing brands in and potentially like a motion capture type of situation. That's obviously a lot of marketing and a lot of things like that. I guess, without giving away too much, because I know you can't, marketing wise, and this may even be a Roxana question, like what does that look like? Because how do you attract these brands and these events and these artists and all this stuff to your metaverse as opposed to somebody else that's been around for a long time?
Obviously, Decentraland and the Sandbox have the time of existence on their side and the press on their side. We do believe that all we need is a boom in the market. Because at one point, how many brands can you have going into Decentraland and doing the same thing? How many? And paying quite a lot for that. Because, as I said, smaller, medium tier brands can't really afford the metaverse as a service prices that are out there on the market. So for us, it's we're on a path of working with people that can help us create really quality content and experiences and showcasing just how fun it is and how interesting it is, and then validating with the first brands, and after that doing a more aggressive marketing campaign, more aggressive sales campaigns to all of these brands that haven't they essentially want to get into the metaverse but they don't know where to start. And I think we have on our side the fact that you don't need to do any of the build yourself as a brand, which is a very it's a technical barrier to entry for a lot of them, and we can definitely support and build that for them and make use of all the marketing and community building that we already have, and we'll continue to have later on.
I see you're on the site there, Matt. We're actually launching a new site in the coming weeks. So watch out.
I had myself muted there for a moment. Yeah, this is MetaVersus.world. Please check out their website. We're looking at a little bit of a VR or sort of motion capture there. I mean, but Roxana, to your point, I think what will be the game changer, no pun intended, is your guys' differentiating factors. The fact that, and Murray, you hit it right on the head. What makes your metaverse different? There's actually something to do. I know it's kind of a funny thing to say because you think of metaverse as this big open world and there's all this stuff to do. And, I've kind of played around with other metaverses before and I'm like, okay, what do I do? Like I'm running around, I'm jumping around, I'm, moving around, but like, what do I actually do? There's nothing to do really. I mean, there's some stores, there's some things about, so the fact that you said that there's something to do, this makes it not just a metaverse, it's gamification, right? There's things to do, there's quests, there's NPCs to talk to, there's other friends that are going to come in, there's brands, real brands, different worlds, things to do that other metaverses don't have. And as that community base, I think, grows, and as the brands see, wait a minute, there's something over here, you're going to have more and more brands want to go where the people are. That's why building it for the brands, I think, is genius, because it's like I said, it's like that analogy of the shopping center. I mean, you go there for the brands that have a product and then the people come. Some might go and hang out, but ultimately it's what is there. And as the brands see the people here, the brands come, and then more, right. And then all of a sudden you get the motion cap. It grows from there. So in my opinion, if I was to answer, I would say also, to add on to what you said, is the differentiating factors of all the things that you're doing that are different, that there's actually a gamification element to this.
And you mentioned gamification. We actually have a gamification tool in our Discord. If you go at the bottom of the website, there's a link to our Discord community, and you can participate in different quests, and then you promote to the next quest, to the next quest, and so on. It's not like a bounty hunt. It's a bit different. It's more interactive because people love the idea of progress, of dashboards, of leaderboards where they can see that they're the best out of a group. And this is something that we will integrate into our virtual world as well. At one point, we'll have a leaderboard. We'll have a way for you to compare yourself as a citizen, as an explorer, essentially compare yourself to others and kind of, understand what more you need to improve in terms of your character, in terms of your time spent, and the uniqueness of building your history in metaverses and taking that history with you at one point because it's interoperable.
Definitely, definitely. And so currently the alpha of this is closed, right? So you can't go and test this. You can't just go download it. You can't get in unless you are invited. So what we are doing for XETA Capital members, I'll say those who own zones. And if you're unfamiliar with XETA Capital, this is our website. We are a decentralized finance, bridging traditional finance, passive income sort of model. We have a wealth management partner that we've partnered with, that we've also been early investors in MetaVersus because we see the great potential that they're offering. And those who own zones in XETA Capital get access to financial services like blue chip equities, private equity, high frequency trading, services that typically are out of reach for the common person like myself, that we brought onto the blockchain, right? To do something with your token besides selling it, to give it real utility, kind of like what Metaverse is doing. So anybody who builds zones starting today until the end of day, November 1st, will be entered into one of 10 spots. We're giving away 10 entries for this to be invited to the closed alpha testing of Metaverses. So if you've already built a zone today, you are entered into that lottery system, basically. So if you build at least one zone, you are entered into that. Obviously, the more zones you build, greater your chances of winning. So if you want to win a spot potentially to get into test Metaverses, this is a way to do it. You can find out more at xetacapital.com. And of course, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, we have our Discord and our Twitter. Go ahead and join our Discord. We talk about Metaverses in there. We talk about DeFi. We talk about traditional finance and what it is we are building here, which is, kind of unique, which is we like unique things. And Metaverses is one of those very unique things. And, Murray, you hit the nail on the head earlier. It's utility. And I feel like you look at whether it's Metaverses or whether it's DeFi, whether it's really any project in the space, utility is what's going to win. And if you don't have utility in a bull market, you might get along, right? We've seen some Metaverse projects come and they've kind of captured, some market space because they were there first. It's like a Bitcoin, for example, right? But as now we are in a bear market, I should say, it's only those with utility that are actually going to survive. And so that's why XETA Capital, where we have utility, we love projects like Metaverses, where you guys also have utility as well.
Maybe to wrap it up, because I know we're approaching an hour and a half. All I want to say is that the metaverse will be bigger than anything else you've seen, and we'll be part of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think as closing statements go, she's absolutely right. Everything you see in Web 2 now over the course of the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years is going to translate into Web 3 and metaverse experiences. And those that get involved early will learn quicker and will do better. So we're pleased to be pioneering in this space. It's exciting. It's fun. It's stressful. But yeah, thanks for having us today, Matt. We really appreciate it. Thanks to everybody for joining. You can reach us at any of the regular social platforms: Twitter, Discord, LinkedIn, Facebook, all of them.
Telegram, all of them.
Telegram, all of them. You can connect with myself. You can connect with Roxana. You can connect with us on all those platforms too. So yeah, we're an open book. So come and talk to us.
Check out Metaverses, guys. MetaVersus.world. Check out XETA Capital, xetacapital.com. Follow both Twitter. Subscribe to both. You guys have a YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Subscribe to both YouTube channels. Join both Discords. There's a lot of cross-pollination with our projects of what both of us are doing in terms of utility, and we will be having more videos like this in the coming days and weeks, I'm sure, as you guys are rolling more out. Again, if you want to win one of 10 spots to be invited into the closed alpha testing for Metaverses building zone starting today until November 1st, end of day. You will be automatically entered, and we will announce the wallets that win those spots. So thanks again, guys, for tuning. Take care and go check out both projects. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.